Welcome to Nationalism in India. Modern nationalism in Europe came to be associated with the formation of nation states. In most countries, the making of this new national identity was a long process. In India, the growth of modern nationalism is intimately connected to the anti-colonial movement. The sense of being oppressed under the colonialism, each class and group felt the effects of colonialism differently. Their experiences were varied, and their notions of freedom were always not same. So, in this lesson, we are going to see about the First World War, Khilafat and non-cooperation movement, differing strands within the non-cooperation movements, then towards the civil disobedience movement, and what are the senses of collective belonging, that is, making one nation, how we are representing it. Nationalism in India. The first chapter, the First World War, Khilafat and non-cooperation. Of course, India did not participate directly in First World War, but we were forced to participate in First World War as the colony of Britain. The war created a new economic and political situation. Huge increase in defense expenditure, because for this defense expenditure they have taken war loans, which was financed by the war loans, and this increased the taxes, customs duties, income tax was introduced. And apart from this, the prices of the commodities increased between 1913 and 1918, that it was doubled. And in villages, there were forced recruitment, and from villages they supplied soldiers. So in 1918 to 19 and 20 to 21, crops failed. Acute shortage of food happened, and there was also a spread of influenza epidemic. And in 1921, 12 to 13 million people perished as a result of famine and epidemic. People hoped that their hardship would end after the war, but it did not happen. Mahatma Gandhi returned to India in January 1915. He brought with him the idea of Satyagraha. What is Satyagraha? It is not a physical force. It does not inflict pain on the adversary, and he does not seek his destruction. Satyagraha is a pure soul force. Truth is the very substance of the soul. So when we try to understand what is the idea of Satyagraha, it promotes the idea of truth and non-violence. The idea of Satyagraha emphasizes the power of truth and need to search for it. So it suggests that if the cause is true, and if the struggle against the injustice, a Satyagrahi could win the battle with non-violence. Without using violence of any form, a Satyagrahi could win the battle of appealing to the conscience of oppressor. So this can be done by persuading the people to see the truth instead of being forced to accept the truth. So we have to believe that we have to see clearly the truth. We should not as it is accept the truth. So Gandhi believed this idea could unite the Indians. So he applied this in 1917, Champaran for indigo plaiting workers in 1917, and he struggled with Kheda district of Gujarat with Satyagraha. He supported the peasants of Kheda district of Gujarat. Affected by the crop failure and the plague epidemic, the peasants of Kheda could not pay the revenue and were demanding the revenue collection be relaxed. In 1918, Mahatma Gandhi went to Ahmedabad to organize Satyagraha movement amongst the cotton mill workers. Hurriedly passed in Imperial Legislative Council, even though it was opposed by the Indian members. ROWLATT Act gave the government enormous powers to repress the political activities and detention of political prisoners without trial for 2 years. Mahatma Gandhi wanted non-violent civil disobedience against such unjust laws. Rallies were organized in various cities. Workers went on strike in railway workshops and shops were closed. Alarmed by the popular upsurge, English thought that if this upsurge grows, then automatically the lines of communication, the railways and telegraphs will be affected. So to clamp down on nationalists, what they did is, the local leaders were picketed from Amritsar. So they were put in jail. The Mahatma Gandhi was banned to enter Delhi, and on 10th April, the police in Amritsar fired upon the peaceful procession. So the provoking widespread attacks on banks, post office and railway station due to this peaceful procession attack. Then martial law was imposed and General Dyer took command. What is martial law? It is the complete law is given in the hands of military. So they can announce ceasefire or they can fire on people without any permission. So their motivation is to bring down the upsurge. The infamous or very brutal Jallianwalla Bagh, which is a park. It's a big park. On 13th April 1919, a large crowd gathered in the enclosed ground. So the gates were there and it is a enclosed ground. So they gathered there. One group was protest against the government's new repressive measures, and the other had come to attend the annual Baisakhi fair. And the people are from villages, they are unaware of the martial law. So the Dyer entered the area, blocked the exit points and opened fire on the crowd killing hundreds. His objective was to produce a moral effect to create in the minds of Satyagrahis a feeling of terror and awe. As the news of Jallianwalla Bagh spread, many North Indian towns went on strikes, clashes with the police, attack on government buildings happened. The government also responded with a brutal repression. They started to accumulate and terrorize people. So Satyagrahis who were captured by them were forced to rub their noses on the ground, crawl on the streets and do salam to all sahibs. The people were flogged and villagers around Jallianwalla in Punjab were bombed. Seeing violence spread, Mahatma Gandhi called off the movement. The First World War ended with the defeat of Ottoman Turkey, and there were rumors that a harsh peace treaty was going to be imposed on the Ottoman Emperor, the spiritual head of Islamic world, the Khilafat. To defend the Caliph's temporal powers, a Khilafat committee was formed in Bombay in March 1919 by the young generation of Muslim leaders like the brothers Muhammad Ali and Shaukat Ali. ROWLATT Satyagraha was limited only to cities and towns. Mahatma Gandhi felt the need to launch a more broad-based movement in India. He felt that Hindus and Muslims should come closer. One way of doing this, he felt, was to take up the Khilafat issue. Now, Mahatma Gandhi started discussing with Muhammad Ali and Shaukat Ali the possibility of united mass action on the issue. So, he wanted to support the Khilafat movement. So, Gandhiji saw this an opportunity to bring Muslims under the umbrella of a unified national movement. At Calcutta session of Congress in 1920, he convinced all other leaders of the need to start a non-cooperation movement in support of Khilafat as well as for the Swaraj. In his famous book Hind Swaraj 1909, Mahatma Gandhi declared that the British rule was established in India with the cooperation of Indians. If the Indians withdraw their cooperation or refuse to cooperate, then British rule will end very quickly in India. So how could the non-cooperation movement can start? So Gandhiji proposed the movement should unfold in stages, like it should begin with the surrender of the titles that the government awarded and boycott of civil services, boycott of army, police, courts, legislative, council, schools and the foreign goods. So the full civil disobedience campaign could be launched. Though through the summer of 1920, Mahatma Gandhi and Shaukat Ali toured extensively, mobilizing popular support for the movement. But within Congress itself, there were different ideas between the people. Like in months between September and December, there were intense tussle within the Congress. So finally at the Congress session in Nagpur in December 1920, a compromise was worked out and non-cooperation was adopted. So we will see in the next part how the non-cooperation movement unfolded and who all participated in it, what is the idea of the different groups and other movements of Gandhiji. Thank you. Let us meet in the next part. Thank you.